Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin Democratic Candidate for United States Senate Kou Lee is our very special guest today, Thursday, May 19th, 2022. A special thank you to our guests so far this month, including 7th Congressional District Representative Congressman Tom Tiffany, candidate for Wisconsin Governor Rebecca Clayfish, candidate for Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor, actually two of those, that was Ben Vocal and Will Martin. We had Polk County Sheriff Brent Walk, of course, Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald for our Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy shows, the Executive Director at Lakeland Family Resource Center, Renee Luell, and yesterday, Kirk Anderson and I were joined by Kim Backstrom live from Poland, where she shared her story about the work she is doing there to help the Ukrainian refugees crossing the border. You can watch a recording of those shows and all of our shows, actually, on our website at DrydenWire.com, on our Facebook page, or on our YouTube channel, just youtube.com/DrydenWire. But today we're chatting with Wisconsin Democratic Candidate for U.S. Senate, Kou Lee. Kou, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Ben. I'm feeling fine today. How are you?
Great. So we're in the thick of the race right now, right? Are you tired of doing, fine, I'll come on and I'll answer some questions from someone. I'm tired of telling my story. How many town hall? Are you hitting that point where it's, like either I'm going to win or I'm going to lose, but either way, I'm so glad that it's going to be over?
No, Ben, actually, it's the opposite for me. I actually having a lot of fun. We're out and about meeting different people, different groups of people, different organizations. And, my wife and I, we promised ourselves that during this process, we're going to enjoy it and we're going to have a lot of fun. And there's a lot to learn from it as well. So I am actually enjoying this. And you are right. We're in the thick of the race. And the primary is very crowded, as you know. And it's been fun. And I think it's going to be super fun as we're getting closer to the primary race, to the voting.
To the Democratic primary, right? Yeah, there's like 72 Democrats running, or maybe that's a little high. But there's a lot. So actually,
it's like 100. It's like 130, Ben.
Yeah. It feels that way. So I want to get into your story for people to get to know you a little bit. You have an incredible story. But first, on that note, how many signatures do you need for U.S. Senate?
The requirement is 2,500.
2,500. Now, that seems reasonable. That seems doable. But when you have, I really don't know, I think there's 10 or 11 people in the race, you also have to consider the fact that there's probably going to be, repeat signatures with them not even realizing it because, town halls, and I'll sign your paperwork. So does that present an extra challenge?
It is. And, what I tell my staff and myself and those individuals that is going to sign my petition, we ask that they do not sign another petition for United States Senate candidates, or they sign anyone else's petition before they sign ours. So we we want to make sure that that's in compliance before we have them sign.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. So tell us about you. For people who don't know you, tell us about your story. And this is like before you've entered the race and your business. We can get to that in a minute. But your childhood.
Ben, thank you. I'm very fortunate. I'm sitting here as an American, and I'm very proud to be an American. I love everything about being American. The freedom that we enjoy, everything that we have, the opportunities. We're a product of the system. And I'm very proud of that. But as far as where my childhood is concerned, I happen to be two when we left our country in Laos. My parents, my parents were not military leaders. They're not nobles. We're not nobilities. And we don't have access. We didn't fly across the border. We did not get on a bus to ride across the bridge, or even have enough money to get a boat to get across the river. My family is one of those individual families that actually escaped to the jungle, trying to get to the river. For my father and my family in particular, we spent, I think according to my father, we walked 19 days in the jungle to get to the Mekong River. And because of the fear that the enemy would somehow find you, along the way. When we got to the river, it's kind of it's really interesting because I asked my dad when we got there, how did you guys cross the river? At the same token, I was 2 years old. How did we survive? How does a 2-year-old survive in the jungle?
Yeah.
Food, playtime, because kids makes a lot of noises. And the story that my parents share with me, they're heartbreaking and very emotional. But I'm very lucky we got here. My story is that when my parents we finally got to the river, uh, my dad was the only swimmer, and we have a single rope. So my dad, as the leader of the group, he tied the rope from him to my mom, and I was two, so I was on my mom's back. And then the rope goes there to my grandmother, to my auntie, and then my cousin. My auntie lives in Milwaukee, and my cousin, who now lives in Madison. And we have cheap plastic bags as life preservers tied to our clothes so that to prevent us from drowning. And that's how we got across. We jumped in the river, and my dad just paddled his way towards the other side. And it's interesting because he said there's a distant light across on the other side in Thailand. He said that was the light of freedom, and he paddled and pulled us across. Um, for my father, I asked him, I said, what goes through your mind in that moment in time? He said, it's all survival. You don't think, you just try to survive. And no matter how strong the currents are, no matter how deep the river is, you just have to do it. And he jumped in the river and just pulled us across. It's quite an amazing story. I'm sitting here talking to you, Ben, today. It's because of the decisions that he made years ago. And the reason we were running away from my native land in Laos was because of the communist revolutionaries who were executing basically anybody, including women and children. Those who sided with Americans during the war in the 60s and 70s, and so we couldn't stay behind. And what's ironic about this whole process is that um, I asked my mother. I said, again, back to the question: how does a 2-year-old survive in the jungle? And my mom, she told me the story that we just we just ate anything that we can, roots, leaves, anything from the jungle to stay alive. And the enemy uses airplane, and they send ground troops to look for anybody that tried to escape. And as little kids, we my parents they try to find time for us to play, but they always tells us that have you ever seen like little chicks in your backyard as the hawks comes on, flies in the sky and they try to dodge and they hide, they become
Mhm.
like part of the environment.
Right.
We were like that, my mom said, and I mean it was pretty scary. Consider some of the stories that they told us. Many of the kids my age didn't survive, Ben, because again, kids cry, kids get hungry, they want to be comfortable, and many times parents will use opium to kind of sedate their kids so that they won't cry. And
Sure.
obviously, because we're not doctors, and sometimes you put too much, and you will be running
Oh.
for distances, and then by the time you know it, your kids are gone. And those are the numbers that were not accounted for during the Vietnam War, as people try to cross the border to Thailand or swim across the river. But I'm very fortunate that we had the opportunity to become Americans.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you have
after,
any? You're saying that you've had these conversations and you learn a lot about it. 'Cause I don't remember anything from when I was 2 years old. However, I didn't have. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was nothing even close to what you had gone through at two. Do you have any recollection or images in your mind when you think back to that?
I see kind of like dreamlike memories.
Sure.
Just kind of running through the jungle like in darkness. Going up the hills, the mountains. Those are some memories that come back to me, but I don't remember them clearly because I was 2 years
Yeah.
old. But I do have clear memories of being in, living in poverty in a refugee camp. We spent 7 years there
So
before.
at this point, you
Um,
cross the river. You're in Thailand,
yes,
and you were there for how long?
7 years.
That was a 7 year, and you were in a I'm sorry, a refugee camp.
We were in a refugee camp with 60,000 other refugees. And I tell you, those are hard days. But you're a kid. I was a kid. And uh, I didn't know any better.
Yeah,
But,
right.
but, I grew up as, just like any other kids. But now looking back, I mean, we were pretty extreme in poverty, for 7 years until my parents were granted the opportunity to become Americans. And, we arrived here in Detroit. I mean, I grew up in Detroit, the city of Detroit. I was 9 years old when we got here. Man, it was very interesting because, when I first got here, I still remember, first time I see toilet flush. That was the most amazing thing to me. Like,
Oh
wow, this
man.
is crazy. Yeah. First time I have a taste of soda. And I remember living in the refugee camp about soda. One time, my dad and I, we walked past a vendor, and this vendor has like a little, like a farmer's market table,
Mhm.
and they have all sorts of flavored drink, you name it, Fanta, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. And I must say that I was probably about 5 or 6 years old at the time, and I just won a bottle of Coca-Cola. And man, in Thailand, one bottle of Coca-Cola costs 1 baht. 1 baht Thai is less than a penny here in the United States. And my father did not have the money to
Oh wow.
buy his son a bottle of Coke. And kids being kids, I didn't want to leave. I was bawling. I was rolling on the ground, and I think that must broke my dad's heart. And he told me, "Son, money's at home. We have to go home first, get the money, come back to buy it." But I knew that if we leave that table or that spot, we'll never come back to buy the soda.
Mm.
And I think he did his best not to discipline me in front of his peers. But I thought that was very embarrassing. But just imagine that, Ben. I mean, I think you are a father. I'm a father, and we will give our kids the world. And he can't buy me a can of soda that costs less than a penny. But I could tell you today, we could buy as many sodas we want,
Yeah.
which is no good for my health. But
And you're probably
but
the only person that I know that, or you probably have the only story. You're the only one that I know that can move to Detroit and say that was a step up.
it
Right? Because
is, it is.
let's face it, I mean, I've never been there, so I'm not ripping on Detroit. I mean, I totally am for humor. But Detroit has it's high crime and a lot of other stuff. But for you, it's like, wow, this is great.
Ben, you're absolutely right. When we got to Detroit, Northeast Detroit, 7 Mile Road, that is considered to be one of the worst part of the city. But you are correct. From what I had to Detroit, I mean, that was like 100 years
Right.
ahead in the future.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is, at the time that we arrived, there's only two English words that I could spoke of, and that is a yes and a no. And I would be I would say yes for a long time, and then certainly I realized I said yes too much, so I switched to no. And that's how it was for my first year here in the United States as a 9 year old. The challenge of adapting to the culture, the language barrier, it was very challenging, Ben. But I tell you, I'm very blessed to be even in Detroit, because I have lots of love from the community, my teachers, my
Mm.
coaches, and that what makes it work for me. And in a short 4 year in Detroit, from the fourth grade to the eighth grade, I was able to adapt fast. I became very good in school. I was a good student athlete, and for freshman year, I was accepted to one of the best high school in Detroit in Cass Technical High School. And after that, I went on to Michigan State University and graduated from Michigan State University and had a very successful career in business. And then somehow moved here in Wisconsin in 2010 because I was offered a job with a company in Milwaukee. And that's how we moved here and started my own company in 2017. I can't tell you that everything that happened to me, Ben, is because of the United States of America. It allows me to grow and to achieve and to live and to enjoy freedom as an American. And, that's important to me because that's what I want to do. And that's what I want to protect. That is the freedom. That is the liberty that we got now, that we have to protect it so that our kids and future generation Americans can enjoy the same, to achieve the American dream.
What business did you start in did you say 2017?
2017.
What business?
Ben, yeah, this is in Appleton. It's kind of interesting because I was running these 60,000, 70,000 square foot stores. And, I wanted to, I'm like many Americans, I just want to find a way to spend more time with my family, with my wife. And so we decided we were going to start a business. We're looking everywhere for any type of business that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow we end up, ironically, we want time, but we end up investing in a restaurant. And the industry require a lot more time than, if anything, you spend most of your time in the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So we opened a restaurant in 2017.
Oh, so you wanted to spend more time with your family and kids, and you started a restaurant. Okay.
My kids practically grew up in the restaurant, so that's a wonderful experience. And I could honestly say that we have 12 candidates right now and 13, and we have 4 that basically had gravitate or actually got most of the attention from the media.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't emphasize anything about the rest of the fields. But what's gets me optimism is that most primary voters, roughly about 50% or more, it's undecided at this point in time.
Okay.
And that is historic. Yes, that is historic.
I looked this morning because anytime I've guest on, I really kind of don't go too much in depth. I don't do it before. I have my routine at 7:30. That's when I actually literally just start Googling your name. And I saw that there was a market poll back in April 19th or 27th, something like that. So a few weeks ago. And it showed the Democrats for U.S. Senate. And it named like the first 4. And then it just said, and then the rest. I'm like, well, you didn't even name who they were, which I thought was interesting, but that's fine. Whatever. But it also stated in there that it was like 43 or 47%, close to 50% of people were still undecided. So that's got to give you some, feeling of we can still do this.
Absolutely, Ben. As I travel the state and I speak to different people, regardless of a party line, and I met a lot of wonderful Wisconsinites, and I think that those polls spoke for themselves. They're waiting and looking for an alternative, and I think that Lee for Wisconsin, I'm just talking from experience. I mean, your neighbors, your family, your friends. And this last 2 years, or actually the last 4 years, we have seen a big divide and with our neighbors, with our family. And that's not what Lee for Wisconsin is about. We want to unite. We want to find the fundamental issues that's facing our country that we must fix in order for us to move forward in the 21st century world. And that's what my campaign's about. And I think that when people starting to look into what we stand for, it resonates both Democrats and also Republicans, because I have friends on both sides. And I think that for America, I think that's what we need, more people in the middle that will do the common sense things for us.
Were you still did you still own your restaurant when we went through I guess I think maybe we still are. I'm not really sure if I should say when we did go through COVID, but when the safer at home, something like that. And then there was an indoor capacity limit of essentials and etc. Did you own your restaurant during that time? And if so, what impact did that have?
Ben, as I meet business owners, from the Fox Valley here to different parts of the state, I realize that regardless of what type of business you own, we all have that same feeling. During the pandemic, my wife and we were operating in negative. Uh, I could tell you, Ben, I haven't paid myself in 2 years plus.
Mm,
But it's this idea that, you invested so much of your money, your hard-earned sweat and everything, sweat and
that's your
equity
baby.
into
That's
it.
right.
That's your baby. And you kept thinking that, oh, you know what, it's going to get
We'll
better.
get through
You kept
this.
investing, kept fighting, we'll get through this. And, when the pandemic hit, I remember was watching the national news and, everyone's talking about, this might be over by summertime and yet
Yeah.
maybe in the fall. And, you, as a business owner, you kept hoping that that is the answer and you kept fighting, you kept holding there.
Mm,
Um, it's really real, man. The mental stress for business owners, especially the two hardest hit industry, the restaurant and the
mm,
hospitality.
mm.
Um, you know, the mental stress of, you can't get enough customer in the door. You cannot find qualified workers to help you. Uh, all the prices on everything went up, and then you try to make sure that you meet all your obligations, and I think all of these things come at you at a full force. And I'm looking at my wife, and I feel so bad for her because sometimes people take things differently, and as a husband, and as you try to protect your spouse from all these
That's
things,
right.
but the pandemic, you can't prevent it because it comes at you both the same way. And so it's unfortunate that we have this virus, this COVID 19, and even now, Ben, I don't think that we are out of the woods yet with the restaurant industry. I could speak for that, and I was very appreciative of the government helping us, but I thought that the state could do a little bit more because I was fortunate to be part of the governor's panelists for the front end, for the front line business owners,
Wow.
and we have a discussion about how uh, the COVID-19 impact our industry, and I explained to the panel that it's great that we spread the money 2,000, 5,000, and 10,000. And what happened is that individuals like myself, business owners like myself, we qualify for the first batch of money, $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
But $2,000, Ben, doesn't do much to
That's a
somebody
drop in the
like me.
bucket. No.
and then and then the second wave comes around for 5,000. I actually didn't qualify because I qualified for the 2,000. And then the third wave that comes around, I know the third wave that came around was for $10,000. And there are some conditions for the $10,000 ones. One of the main conditions is that your business, your restaurant has to generate over $1 million per year.
Woofda.
So that kind of put the bummer on most, mom and pop shop
Yeah,
across the
right.
state, and we qualify for that. But what's really interesting though, Ben, during the pandemic, as I mentioned, I said for us to do some justice with the money that we have to do a little bit more work, a little bit more research. And the reason I say that, I said, if you tap on the restaurant industry, there's a lot of segments that comes up. You got Chinese restaurant, you got Thai
Sure,
restaurant, you got
sure.
Greek, you got Italian, you name it, it's all the way there. And if you click on every one of those individual segments, you know, the Chinese suffer worse than the Thai industry or versus the Greek industry.
Really?
Some of these restaurants actually make, positive revenue. And for example, the Chinese has a 60% closure rate during that time because of the Wuhan virus, because of the Kung Fu virus. So this kind of rhetoric kind of hurt them. And I told the panelists, I said, we could give them $5,000, but they really need about 50. But if you give it to another industry, even $2,000, they will say, thank you. We don't need it because, we're doing good.
Sure.
But because we didn't, but, I know that those are just suggestions and ideas.
Yeah.
But then I felt for the family, the mom and pop shop throughout the States. And I want to tell them that hang in there. I'm a business owner myself, and there's a lot of things that we could do right for business
Mm.
owners across the state and across America because the little mom and pop shop, the entrepreneurs, the business owners, this is what's carrying the economy across the country, our U.S. economy, not big corporations. And as a United States senator, I will do my very best to make sure that we take care our business owners because that is where it lies. Because right now, what's happening is that the pandemic is eliminating a lot of the little mom and pop shop, and I think we cannot let that happen.
You're running as a Democrat. I'm assuming that means because you're a Democrat. Hopefully, that's a fair assumption. Why? What is it about the Democratic Party for you that this is the party that I want to be a part of?
Ben, in all honesty, the way that I was raised, my value system, and everything else kind of coincide with what Lincoln said way back then that the hand that grows the corn eats the corn. And, I believe in wholeheartedly in that sense. But right now, I think it just makes sense for me to be a
Sure,
Democrat
sure.
because my chances of winning it's a lot greater in this way. And I
Well, that's true.
love the idea. I love the idea that we help lower class income families or middle class Americans uh, improve their lives, improve their job by ways we improve their lives and their jobs and giving them more opportunities to better themselves in their future. They will create the demands in the market to improve our entire economy. I like that idea better than focuses on giving freebies and giving tax breaks to big corporations because as of right now, you look at it, I mean, America produces some of the most millionaires and billionaires in the country, but you could sense it that the wealth gap in this country is getting wider.
Mm.
And, and I think that's where I think that we have to be careful as elected officials, as Americans, that we put the right people in place to make these decisions with a good, clear conscience and better, good moral compass so that we could make decisions that benefit all Americans, not just a select few.
So you would really intrigue me if you could tell me how you're going to help people with no class. So that'd be me. So there's low class and then there's no class. That's me. So there is, as you had mentioned, several other Democrats running for this same thing. What separates you from the others?
Well, Ben, I think for me, I overcame poverty. I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. I overcame that. I went on to graduate from Michigan State University.
Yeah.
I worked as a successful business manager. I have managed multi-million dollar company. I supervised over 100 people. And I think that I believe that where you grew up, what your experiences are, kind of make up for who you are. And
Yeah.
I kind of grew up in the same place or same position as you, Ben, most Americans, because I came from a humble background. And I believe that I have a clear conscience. I want to serve the state of Wisconsin. This is not about becoming famous. This is not about trying to pad your pockets. This is about serving the state of Wisconsin with integrity, with honesty, and that's what my intentions are. I want to serve. I love to. I love to work, Ben. As a matter of fact, because of the campaign, uh, I have taken off the weekends. I haven't had a weekend off for 17 years, Ben.
That's
So
crazy.
I tell
Yeah.
you, I love to work, and I want to represent Wisconsin, and I
Mm.
hope to be the next United States senator from Wisconsin, because I think that we need good people to step up to the plate
Sure.
and do these jobs.
What's your wife think
Otherwise,
about you doing this?
you know,
We could talk about that offline if you don't want to say it
uh,
loud.
Ben, we had a very tough decision to make about a month before. I mean, it was brewing, but it wasn't until a month before we made the decision that we're going to do this. And there are a lot of tears were shed, and there are a lot of concerns about privacy. Because I have four little ones,
Mm.
and there are concerns about safety. There are concerns about uh, everything, and at the end of the day, my wife came to conclusion that if this is what we are intended to do, that we have a purpose and we want to serve, we want to make a difference, not just in my family, but for Americans, for Wisconsinites. Then maybe that is a worthy cause, and she went for it, and we both made the decision, and through thick and thins, she is my rock, and I tell you, she's way.
Hmm? Oy. I don't know if you can still hear us. Cool. If you do, click the sign up button, hit the link to jump back in. Yeah, so I'm being joined, or I was. Hopefully he'll be able to jump back on here by Kou Lee, who is a Democrat running for United States Senate against several others. Boy, I didn't really have a cheat sheet just in case this happened. Well, give me 1 second. There's that. Nope, I think he's maybe gone. Oh, there we go. Well, maybe he'll sign back in just a second. There he is. Nope, now he's gone again. And it's another Tiffany moment. I love it. At least I don't think we have to call it Tiffany moments anymore. This is happening more and more often. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so that's all right. We usually go about 30 to 45 minutes. I still want to give him just a couple of minutes. He keeps... Hey, there we go.
Oh my gosh.
No
Ben,
problem. This first of all, before you say anything, no kidding. This happens every time I do a monthly show with Tom Tiffany. Because he's our congressman. Happens all the time. One time happened 3 times in a show. There's no way to prevent it. Just randomly will happen. So it's probably on our end, so I apologize for that.
Ben, this is part of the issue that I know that many of the candidates or across the country doesn't talk about. But this is one of the things that I believe that we have to do as a country, is that we must be able to wire our country with broadbands, with internet, and with cell towers, because those things are important to us as Americans. And that will allow us to have access, and that will allow us to create new jobs. I ask people here in Wisconsin, I say, what's wrong with living in the northern states and have a job in Milwaukee?
Yeah, that's a big issue up here in Northwest Wisconsin. Is just that, the broadband, and you just get a little bit out of town, and it's not good. So a couple more things here I want to wrap up with is you had stated, I think it was on Ballotpedia, I saw that this morning, you stated in there's like a Q&A thing that you're not a politician. Is that helping you or hurting you?
Ben, what I bring to the table, it's a whole set of different experience for the private sector. And if you're looking for a politician with 10, 20 years of experience, certainly I'm not your candidate. But for sure, to me, Ben, honestly, politics, to me, it's about your ambition, your compassion for your community, for your country, and for your people. And I think that that drives me. And I want to bring change, positive change, to our state, to our country, and that's what makes me different from the other candidate. Because if you look at the field, I mean, that's what we talk about. And I mean, you heard of Einstein, right? People that we associate having smart and intelligent, we said that's an Einstein right there. Now, Einstein famously said that to do the same things and expect a different result, it's insanity. So we as American, all I'm asking the voters here in Wisconsin is to have an open mind
I
about,
see. Sure.
yes,
Yeah, if you're
just
not
to have
super
an
happy
open
with how
mind.
the politics are right now, maybe we should look at who we're actually electing and what their background is. Am I
That,
understanding that correctly?
that's correct because
Right.
we keep on sending the same people to Washington.
Right.
What are we going to get? The same result because, uh, I mean, be careful what we wish for because we keep on saying the same old politician, the rich guy, the rich gal. What do you get? And I mean, Ben, one of the things that I looked at here with the rest of the field, you know, I have families, I have single moms, I have the working class people endorsing me, but these are just the average American uh, public that endorse me.
Yeah.
Versus you look at some of the other people, I mean, they have a list of endorsers. And I sit here and I scratch my head. I said, just imagine we got this guy or this gal to office. They will not even answer to the Wisconsinites or the people of Wisconsin. They have to answer to all these interest groups.
Hmm.
And you know, we if we let that happen, we basically shoot ourselves in the foot, and we'll let the same thing happen over again.
But yeah, we continue to do it.
Yet we continue to do it because there is power in money. And I could tell you,
I've
Ben,
heard that. I've never experienced that myself, but I've heard that to be true.
you know, because I mean, um, we try to gap that money gap, but it's still an uphill battle
Mm.
because many of the congressmen, women, United States senators are pretty much being bought out by corporates, by nonprofits, by interest groups, and so when you talk about big money in politics, that you try to make it more transparent, you try to make it more limit the amount that could be donated. That's why it's such an uphill battle and I like to tell that to the public that I'm not a politician because everything that we do, Ben, comes from the little people, and we generate the funds, we invest it, strategically invest it, so we don't waste the money, and then we find more money, we come back, and then we apply it again, and so we're basically taking steps slow steps than a lot of my peers. But I'm very optimistic because we're not walking backwards, and we're actually moving forward. And Ben, I think this idea of big money, it's not fair to Americans because we have lots of people like myself, which I believe that wants to come on board, wants to make a difference,
Hmm.
but the money gap makes it very difficult
It's an uphill
for
battle
them
right out of the gate.
right out of the gate. And you're correct. But Ben, I want to tell you that we don't quit. We kept
Oh
fighting.
boy. Yeah, you don't
And
strike me as a quitter.
oh my gosh, sometimes I think uh, my wife has to tell me, hey, maybe it's time to give up and go home. You work too hard in the restaurant. Tomorrow there's another day for you to fight. And Ben, I tell you, this experience has taught me a whole lot.
Mm.
The idea that you don't give up when your path has pretty much been uh, pampered with rocks and thorns and things like that, but you learn how to be creative because of the choice, because of the
Mhm.
hand that you were dealt with. And that's what we're doing. We're fighting to the best of our ability. We're meeting our constituents. We're meeting Wisconsinites, and I do hope that those will impact the numbers
Mm.
when it comes to the primary
Yeah.
election because I truly think that Wisconsin needs something new. We need a new, fresh breath there.
Yeah. Knock me down 9 times. I'm gonna get up 10. Right. That. I want to go back just real quick. I love right before you got cut off there when I asked you about how does your wife think about you running. Everything that you said regarding running for office, it wasn't, well, we talked about me running and when I'm, it's everything you said was when we are, and we, I don't hear that from a lot of people. So no kidding. Props to you. Cause that is, my dad was a sheriff for 28 years. Yeah, but mom was kind of too. I mean, she wasn't, but you know what I mean. It completely changes her life now. So it's a team effort. So I'm glad that you brought
Well,
that up.
Ben, you are absolutely correct. My wife is, you know, I coined the term unicorn because she's rare because she is modernized, but she's also have a healthy respect for our elders and tradition.
Mm.
And so she's young, but she's able to kind of navigate between the two groups, the young folks and the older group. And she is super supportive, Ben. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to
Where
have
would
my
we be
wife.
without the women in our lives, man?
I
Seriously.
tell you,
I don't want
hey,
to even think about it, to be honest.
I, I tell you, I would not be here without my wife. She is my rock and she's my foundation, Ben.
Outstanding. Where can people go to find out more information about you?
Ben, very easy. www.lee for Wisconsin.
L-
That is the Thai word for Lee for Wisconsin
okay.
.com
LEE,
and
right?
LEEFOR Wisconsin.com.
Perfect. And what's next for you? Where it's coming up on a weekend? Uh, are you taking the weekend off?
Right now, no.
No. All right. I was just maybe.
uh, uh, Ben, right now, I'm waiting for the permit to be approved by the largest farmers market in the country, which is the Dane County Farmers Market around the capital on Saturday. If they approve my permit, I'm going to be there meeting the constituents, meeting Wisconsinites, and also because the fact that we have to get 2,500 petition, I'm there trying to get that worked out. And we're going to work hard. That's the main thing right now, because otherwise, without that 2,500 signatures, all the hopes and dreams will come to a halt, and we cannot let that happen.
Yeah. All right. Last words. Anything else that you want to say before we wrap it up?
Well, first of all, I want to tell people that everything that I have, everything that I am, every freedom that I enjoy, everything that I got, it's because of the United States of America. And the reason I'm running because I fear that the greatest democracy in the world, this citadel of freedom, it's about to crumble, ripped apart by ceaseless division, tribal warfare, identity politics,
Mm.
and we owe it to our kids to make this democracy work. So that is why I'm running.
Yeah. What is so like the hate is just getting crazy. Now it's an election cycle, and we say that every election cycle. Wow, there's a lot of hate out there. But it seems like every election cycle gets worse and worse. And I don't know. This one feels worse, but then again, in 2 years, I'll probably say the same thing that, wow, this one seems a lot worse. But at some point, we just have to plateau, right? And hopefully get better. But I don't think so. It's crazy. I
Well,
can't
Ben,
imagine you and what you go through and your wife and all the because we have other candidates on. I can't imagine what you guys have to deal with on a daily basis and social media and the hate that gets thrown your way. I can't imagine dealing with that. That alone would keep me from ever thinking of running for anything ever.
Ben, I'm surprised because I think that Americans, Wisconsinites, are very smart people and very kind. I
Yeah,
think that
most
what
of
we
them.
see, uh, I mean, from what I've seen so far,
I can get you a few names on some that aren't maybe on that list. I can get their phone numbers too.
I think we live in a society where news, normally bad news sells,
Yeah.
and so what we see in the media seems to be like this epidemic across the country. But I think you're on the streets, like myself, you're talking to people, you realize that there are a lot more Americans that are in the center, who is much more kinder, who understands,
Hmm.
who wants this country to be what Americans should be, which is for justice, which is for different type of people, because we all come here as immigrants.
That's
And
right.
so many Americans that I spoke with, many of my neighbors, my to the different cities and counties that I've been to, that's the kind of voice, that's the kind of echo that I hear. And I still have hope for America, Ben. I think that part of the democratic process is that we have two sides and kind of always at each other. But that's democracy,
Yeah.
and we have to take that, and realize that what's on TV is probably not the true representation of America.
Wow. And to
So
be clear,
uh,
you don't live down in Madison or Milwaukee, though, where a lot of these people that are running do, right?
I don't. I actually live in Green Bay,
There you
outside
go.
of Green Bay, in a village called Hobart, which is only about
Hobart.
5 minutes west of Green Bay, off on Interstate 29.
That's yeah. Is there anyone else? You have to say their names. I don't think you're supposed to say your opponent's names. Most of them are down from southern part of Wisconsin, though, right?
Most of them are. Most of
Okay.
them are, and I believe that another gentleman who is from Appleton here. So,
Okay.
uh, yeah, I met him as well. He ate in my restaurant once or twice, so I kind of know him, but not personally in that sense.
Two, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Man, this has been great. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course.
I do hope to be the next United States Senator from Wisconsin, and I would love to come back and chat some more.
Yeah, we'll schedule for after the primary.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you so very
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
man.
Yeah, special
Thank
thank
you.
you to our guest today, Wisconsin Democratic Candidate for United States Senate, Kou Lee, and thank you for watching. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden. I'll see you tomorrow morning when I'll be chatting with the Democratic candidate for Wisconsin's 25th Senate District, Kelly Westland. So until then, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.